All right. Woo-wee. Welcome to The Secret. Vincent Davis, The Secret. Here tonight. I guess everybody else is just not coming in tonight. Well, I got a special guest here though, Corey C. Corey, you've been a fixture here with us for the past couple of days, which is great. You also beat the system yourself. So I don't know if you want to do a little introduction for yourself and tell people what you're all
Sure.
about, man.
My name is Corey. I live in Western Pennsylvania. I'm just south of Erie. I have been fighting child custody since late 2016, early 2017. And everything that you could possibly imagine to this child has happened. Between broken nose, between broken collarbone, between cigarette burns, between being medical dental neglect, between starving this child. I mean, this child has had it all. We have gone through countless child lines, which in Pennsylvania is where you call this 800 number and you're supposed to report any kind of child abuse and neglect, sexual abuse, I mean, those kind of things. I
How
have
much?
gone
How
through a lot
much?
of.
Do you know what the statistics are in Pennsylvania? Do you know what the statistics are there, by any chance?
As far as to what? As far as
As far as like
I
the amount of abuse. I mean, I guess what I'm asking is are they busy enough that they can't call you back? I mean, how many kids do they get involved with there?
I had a friend of mine who did, which was in Crawford County, and the other one was in Mercer County. So the abuses were happening in a different county rather than mine. So what had happened is that they would come, like my county would come and say, well, this is a secondary, you have to go to. And in answer to your question, it used to be like, and this is just, I'm throwing out a number, like I'm not giving you a factual statistic, but if they'd get 1,000 calls, they would probably only between 5 and 10%
Okay.
that were actually. Now they were all investigated, because everything in state of Pennsylvania states that every call, whether it's true or not, has to be investigated. We had so let's see, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20, 21. I don't think I had anyone last year. I had 98 child lines. Only one was founded.
Wow.
And
Holy smokes.
again, we had 5, maybe more, of cigarette burns. We had 2018, or no, 2017. His birthday was March 3rd. He stopped eating and drinking of 2017. This little guy's 2 at this stage. Had just turned 2. He had 10 cavities, 5 caps, a root canal extraction, and abscess at 2 years old.
Wow.
I'm sorry, it was at 2018. He would have been 3. So at 3 years old, this child quit eating and drinking probably end of February, I'd say. CYS. So I take this child to a dentist that can do sedated surgery. And we get down, which is down in Cranberry Township, Pittsburgh area. And they tried to blame me. CYS was going to sue and prosecute me for trying to get him help.
Wow.
After I threatened them and said, I'm the one that's getting him help, and that I would sue them, we've heard nothing of. That was in March. Oh, no, it was in April. His appointment, this was February 26th that I took him to the dentist. April, I think it was like 5th or 6th. His appointment wasn't originally going to be till May 24th, and this child had stopped eating and drinking.
Wow.
So I said to him, well, one of 2 things are going to happen. You either get me an appointment, or I'll take him to the emergency room and I'll sue everybody. Well, it's amazing. We got an appointment with the dentist. The dentist at the end of that year quit, or retired. And we have another dentist who has done an amazing job. She has recommended him to do an orthodontic process, and he is in the process of going through braces.
Wow. At that age, are you serious?
Right now, he's 8 years old.
Right.
But he has got a full apparatus and he's grinding his teeth. So as an adult, you don't want to grind your adult teeth. So he's got to have this apparatus, which is extremely horrendous. So it's got to pull his teeth up and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
hardcore. He'll say, "Daddy, it hurts." Listen,
Yeah.
if you and and one of the things about this, and it's just this really had put me into proper perspective of more anger, is that he is so he's got a complex about his smile. He goes, "Daddy, I don't want any of the metal. I just want to smile and have it be a nice smile." I said,
Of course.
if you listen to what I'm telling you, I had to go through this. And again, I wasn't abused as a child, but orthodontics and braces are part of the game. So now he took I just got his school picture back, and I showed him he's got his teeth, and he goes, "Boy, that's nice to see teeth and smile, not metal." Oh, yes, it is. So it's. But I told him, I said, "It's a process, buddy. We're going to get you to where we want." He's got a complex on.
All of this was caused by the neglect, right? This was
yes. Went to
Wow.
court, kept getting 50-50. They blamed me for this. They blamed all of this on me. And I said, okay, I'm the one that got him an IU5, which is like he was delayed in speech. He was delayed in potty training. He was delayed in pretty much everything. And we have a Montessori type of school up here where it's a play based. So you're doing the same things as you would say in like a Head Start, but it's all play based. So at 2 years old, I got him an intercessory unit 5, which they help him with speech and articulation and motor skills and all of this. I put him in, I think he was 3 when he went into preschool. So at 3, 4, and 5, he then went into 6. When he was 6, he went into first grade at a private Christian school, and he's now at second grade. And COVID had a big part in that. So March, April, and May, and they said, well, I think he's ready to go. No, sorry, that doesn't work like that. So I held him back an extra year. He really should be in third grade, but I held him back because that 3 months would have almost been like a year to him.
Wow.
I had to fight the school for that, but after COVID and they made an allowance for that. And at the end of the school year, the whole school board said, you know what, that was the smartest thing you could have done. I said, I know my child, and I can tell you he was not anywhere near ready. So kindergarten, they were teaching him like basic addition, subtraction. We're talking kindergarten. First grade, they hit him last year with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and fractions. So they're not playing around. So again, that's one of the things that. So, and again, one of the things that I have noticed, and I'm sure that you have heard this time and time again, is kids that have been abused and neglected are very sensitive. Like if you say something loud, they take that as personal. And so I've had to really shield a lot of, people, if they're yelling and not meaning it at him. And he, like, for instance, I try to put him into martial arts. And they do a lot of katas, and it's loud. He's special sensory. He can't deal with that. So I have a friend of mine who is teaching at a Christian association in my town. And so we're going to put him in that. And I think he's got his doctorate in child psychology and growth or something, but he's able to, but he's got 3 different forms of discipline of martial arts, which I think is phenomenal for, it takes away the anxiety for him. But I've had to do stuff like that outside of the box, and that's where it has been
to build his self-esteem back up, to make him feel like it's
right.
He's not going to be, because he lost his sense of security essentially. He had no one. I mean, that's got to be quite a thing for a child to be with one parent and have 100% security, and then when you were the other one, you live in fear. And when it's a 50-50 split, I mean, that's got to be horrible. A mental battleground for him.
One of the things is like, and I know this because my mom and I were going to a birthday party, and we dropped him off. And honestly, Darren, he grabbed the hold of my shirt like I've had adults grab, and I've never had a death grip from a 2-year-old. This is April 25th of 2017, and he is just on the hammer. He's on one. No, daddy, no, daddy. And I've got to sit there and watch this. Give him to her, his mother, and I have to go try to celebrate my mom's birthday.
Right.
And I have a video of that.
Interesting. Right.
Oh, geez. I told the guy, said, "Are you okay?" And I knew the waiter, and I said, "Listen, At this point in time, I need something medicinal. He knew exactly what I wanted, and so, and again, and I'm not a drinker, but and again, I still have that video, and I'll tell you, it is gut wrenching. People, I showed that to the attorney. He goes, "Wow, yeah." So he immediately filed for a modification, and I said, "You tell me that's that's just an everyday occurrence." He goes, "Nope, that's a child calling for his dad, and I have to watch and give him back." Yep, that's
Yeah.
exactly what that is. So one of the things my sister was up here to kind of go back forth. I don't think Keegan was what 4 months, 5 months, and her and Keegan's mother, my ex, was sitting on the couch and she was breastfeeding it, and I was out. I was going to get dinner for all of us, and my sister called me and she says, "Corey, I have to talk to you." And she said, "I can't see that Keegan has an attachment to his mother." I said, "Come again?" She goes, "Normally, when you see a mother and a baby, there's usually some kind of an attachment. He doesn't have it." I'm like, "Okay." So again, I'm a guy, I got the wrong plumbing for that. So I said, "Well, listen, let's discuss this. You try to explain this to me in man terms." So she did, and we one of the things that, and at this time you're trying to explain to an attorney, well, this is this, and they don't understand this. So from then on, it was just completely, I'm the mother, and that's what the court sided with. And finally, I finally got creative and just started calling every agency and calling them and
Right.
hounding them. And, you know, it was really bad about this. And you can understand this as being a dad. Everybody gets to walk away from it except dad.
Right.
You're on this 24/7. And he came to me the one night, he just started walking. And I was on the couch and he curled up on me. He goes, "Daddy, no more, no more." Well, I knew exactly what he meant. So call the attorney. And I said, this has got to stop. And I'd send him pictures. He'd tell me, quit sending them. I said, what do you want me to do? And one of the things that I did in this is that and I said, when I'm telling you, I'm trying to explain to you that what I'm telling you is real. Well, now they believe me. So when I say something, they know I've either got documentation or proof or videos or pictures or whatever the case is. Um, I actually, by the grace of God, found his dentist record from another dentist that she made this appointment, canceled it, just canceled it, didn't tell anybody. And he only had one cavity at the time. That was in August of 17. And by January of 18, his whole mouth was completely riddled with cavities.
Oh God. Now, how can
His,
people just deny that? How do they just ignore that? Like that's just terrible.
I
So what
called
did
my
you do?
attorney.
What was your remedy at that point? What did you go
Well,
through at that point?
we were, again, I'm getting hammered in court. I'm doing 50-50. And again, I guess to call it hammering, I guess, is kind of a gross term. So we're doing 50-50. We'd had this co-parenting counseling. And she, again, one of the things, we had this three-way text, and I said, I want to know why the dentist just threw me out of his office and said that I need to get this little child to a dentist immediately, and one that provides sedated surgery. Now we're talking about a 2-year-old at this time. And I mean, I can't even wrap my head and fathom, we're talking a 2-year-old in sedated surgery, right?
Right.
So I call my attorney. I said, "Hey, listen." Now, I had switched attorneys at this time because when I kept getting 50-50, I'm like, "Listen, I'm working my tail off to get this child, and I'm hitting my head against the wall." So the attorney that I have now, I sat in his office, and I have 4 banker's boxes full of stuff in my Jeep. I used to deliver mail, and so I have a mail Jeep, and so we're going through everything. What's going on? Hey, how can we help you? And I said, "I'm going to lay down a check here. I'm going to retain you." And he goes, "Well, I want to see everything." Sure. Yes. Sure. Yes. Yeah. You 100%. Now his assistant's here. She used to be. Now this is interesting. She used to be a solicitor for CYS, and now I know I've got the right people, because now I said, "Now listen, here's 2 things that I'm going to tell you. Number one, I'm a man of action. Don't tell me what we can't do. Tell me what we can do. And 2, when I'm going to give you options that you have never seen before. Like, I'm going to give you, so you can use A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I'm going to raise a lot of havoc. So you understand this going in." And I said, that's what you can expect from me. And I'm going to give you this case on a golden platter. He goes, okay, all right, let's have everything. I said, sure. Yep. My case is the third largest in my county.
Wow. And Mr.
Close.
Mr. Davis talks about this all the time. The number one thing that you need to do is have a lawyer. You got to have a lawyer in all of these cases, because if you don't,
Yep.
they're just going to run you over. I mean, the system's too big, it's too dangerous, it's too powerful, and they don't really necessarily care about you or how you are or your child or anything. What they care
That's
about is the
exactly
funding.
correct.
And if you don't
That's
have a lawyer, like you had just said,
Yep.
that's going to
Yep.
willing to stand up against these people, then you're in some serious trouble when CPS comes knocking at your door. I mean, that's just facts. And these are, I mean, I don't know if preventative CPS planning is part of everybody's lives, but it certainly looks like it wouldn't be a bad idea for everybody in the country to come up with a plan if they ever do come and try to kidnap your children and take them. Maybe you should have a lawyer especially made for CPS cases on speed dial. Maybe you should have your kid be educated in the fact that CPS is coming in. These are all things that people should think about, because, I mean, they have
Absolutely.
they have no there seems to be no boundary to these people. They don't care
Not at
who
all.
they are, what they're about. I mean, the simple fact alone is, I'm looking at the breakdown in Pennsylvania right here. All right. So in 2000, and it goes back to 2021, it says that they had 38,016 calls, okay, on kids that were the total reports. Of that, 5,036 were substantiated. 32,310 were unfounded.
Isn't
Um,
that amazing?
so that tells me right there that the numbers don't work. So you need, whether you are or not, you carry the potential of having a long-term, you have a long-term CPS case if you're not careful with what you have going on. If you don't pay attention to what people like Mr. Davis say and
Right.
manipulate this system before it comes to you, then you could be in deep crap.
Well, here's what I did. I got an attorney right off the get go because I knew that we were going to have a fight on my hands. Needless to say that I know what kind of a royal battle that was going to be. But so one of the things that I have done, and we own businesses and everything. One of the things that I always believe in is, if you documentation is your best friend, or it can be your worst enemy, just depending on how you go about this. So if I have pictures and everything that I substantiate or I claim and I can substantiate, and they take this child, they're in for a world of hurts, point blank. So I have a friend of mine who, like I said earlier, he is a retired law enforcement. He said, Corey, he said, bro, I'm going to tell you something right now. Put as much between you and the court system as you can. And he said, every government agency you get for your child, do it. If it's free, sign them up. 2, not only get a counseling for you, get a counselor for him, get him his own attorney, and get your own attorney. Because he said, then what happens is everybody gets into a royal battle, and CYS is going to go, hey, nope, I don't want any part of this. This is a mess. Because what it does is it throws them into a tailspin where, like, wait a minute. There's accountability, and they don't want that. They want low-hanging fruit, as you said earlier. The third thing that I did is that, so I finally got him into a counselor where we're trying to work through a lot of the anxieties and a lot of this stuff. I have now, so the court appointed counselor got kicked out. They went back to 50-50, and I kept her as my regular counselor. She's been through everything. Everything is documented. She has emailed the court and said, Dad should have this child. They again yet blame me because of CYS. So what I have done is I shifted my focus this way. Instead of blaming CYS, I got him into early potty training, IU5. I got him into preschool. I got him into kindergarten. I let my resume do its talking for me, so that when my attorney goes in there and says, hey, Dad has done XYZ, Dad has done this, Dad has done that, Dad has done this, and so no court system's going to go, hey, listen, I can't take him away from Dad. Dad's done an outstanding job getting this child. So it would behoove them to just leave him. And now I have, what do they call that? oh, there's a name for it. Pro quit. Status quo. So again, and I just keep doing it because, and again, not that I would think that, anything is going to happen, but they can't say, well, hey, dad's, shirked off and this, that, there, and the other. I'm still continuing to do this so that if this would ever go back to court, hey, dad still got him into second grade. He's getting A's and B's. He's taking music class. He's taking bowling. Like, I have put him into everything that I can humanly think of.
Yeah, and that's good because you don't want to give them any reason. But what people don't understand is this: if you just didn't let them in, you wouldn't have had this to begin with. Like when CPS comes knocking on that door, call your lawyer. Don't answer the door because like even like you're saying, Corey, you're a great parent. You've got your documents prove that you have everything that you need. However, what they will do is try to flip scripts on you. And if you don't have someone standing there in your right wing, like your attorney, then you're not going to be able to do anything about it, and they will find a way to work themselves into the situation. So it's the best that you can do is, like you're saying, is be prepared.
Yep.
Let's talk about the abuse that your son took. Like you said, what did it take to get them to finally pay attention to that?
Well, one of the things is that, and you can certainly understand this as being a parent as well as other, this stuff will make you absolutely dog crazy. Like, crazy is an outhouse rat. So I keep watching my son come home with welt marks on his back, cigarette burns in his ankle and his knees and his elbows. I come home, he comes home with. So one of the things I told my attorney, I said, I want you to green light me. What do you mean? I want you to green light me. I want you to take the cuffs off of me and let me run. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, don't you worry about it. I said, I will make you this promise. I won't do anything illegal, but I want you to green light me. He goes, all right, you got a 3-month trial. Cool. So here's what I did. LinkedIn is a phenomenal resource. Fantastic. So I went through LinkedIn and found the head nurse, or the head doctor, I'm sorry, at Children's Hospital. I sent her 400 pictures. Now, let me tell you what kind of a response that gets. So CYS tried to, slough it off. Well, they couldn't because they have 400 damning photos. So what they did is they got me an appointment down there. The one doctor says, well, that all of these photos fall into the normal category. Well, I don't know what you're looking at, but they sure do not. So the CYS worker actually came up to me, said, Corey, we're going to found this. We believe there's abuse. It was 2 weeks later, they pulled the gentleman off and they closed the case. So now I'm really hot and bothered. We had a treatment plan. We had everything. He just closed it. They were sending people from up here in Mercer County, checked on the child. Well, of course he's going to be okay. So everything is all right and well, fine and dandy. And they closed the case. So I called my attorney. I said, hey, I've had enough of this dog and pony show. I started calling agencies, and I'm telling you, I've got emails to prove every one of them. Well, one of the things that was interesting is I emailed one of these agencies, and one of the things that I loved, and again, I still love to do this, prior, during, and after, is email, because then you take it into court and go, hey, this is what this person said. So it makes the judge forced to really, he's really got to think about what he wants to do and how he wants to approach this. So the lady said to me, she in this email, and again, I have everything. I have the originals, and the attorney has copies. In some case, two kind of copies. And I said, I've had enough of this. I sent her 5 photos. She calls me as soon as she gets this email and says, this is enough of this. This is ridiculous. I don't want this child going back there. Now, I said, I just can't do that on a whim. She said, I'll get Human and Health Services legal department in on this, and I'll send them the photos. Meanwhile, another agency, I had a couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is not any indicative of this. 2 of them were Republicans, 3 of them were Democrats. All 5 of them sent this stuff to the Human and Health Services. So I'm bombarding everybody that I can find their email address. It's like an all or none. I mean, I'm bombarding everybody. So somebody's going to do something because they're going to go, oh my gosh, what in the world's going on? And it brings a problem to light, which again, or supposedly. Human and Health Services legal department, I can't remember the guy's name, but he calls me and he said, this is gruesome. What are you going to do about it? Because again, you haven't seen the half of it, but I've only sent you what you've seen. And he goes, there's more. Oh, there's a lot more. I said, right now on my iPhone, this was like in 2018 or 19, I have close to 19,000 photos. And he goes, oh my dear God. I said, listen, you ain't seen nothing. And I said, if I send these, we're going to have an awful issue because it's going to make you sick and you're going to want to go home and drink. I'm telling you, this is this bad. He said, okay. He said, have your attorney call me. All right. So I called my attorney. I said, hey, listen, we got Human and Health Services legal department. He goes, did you? I said, I talked to the head guy. I said, I'm not talking to somebody that's low life. I want top notch. Because if this thing goes off the rails, everybody's seen this. Everybody's implicated in a huge lawsuit. So, and again, I'm trying not to think of it that way, but this is how I've had to kind of put my focus on this. So, again, let me go back to this. So Keegan's got a beautiful pediatrician. And one of the things that we set up, he came home the one day with welt marks. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what kind of reindeer games were going on. So I took him down there, and he said, "Okay." He was mad. He called CYS just threw an absolute fit. He comes back in, and the nurse took my little guy to get a lollipop, and he said, "I want you to do this." He said, "I'm giving you my cell phone of the office, and anytime he comes back from her house, I want him in this office." Cool. Now I've got, and again, I'm putting a medical doctor. I'm putting people that have seen this in the middle of this.
Yep.
So it's not me doing this. This is a medical doctor going, the heck is going on here? He came home with welts, and he took him out of the office. He goes, Corey, I'll be back with him. He goes, and again, I trust his pediatrician, trust him with wholehearted. And I said, hey, take your time. I got nowhere to go. He took him back, and he goes, I don't know what they did. And he said, I've taken pictures and I've documented all this. His file, because the attorney got a hold of the copies of the file. It was 2 boxes, I think, maybe a box, regardless. So that was in 2018. 19 did it again. 20. Again, 20 was kind of a bad year because with COVID-19, you've got a lot of stuff going on, and that's kind of a tough thing. 21, right. 21 was an interesting scenario. So he comes home. It was the weekend before Thanksgiving, and he's crying. He gets in his Jeep and he's crying. And I said, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he goes, "I'm ashamed, Daddy." And I said, what's the matter? Now she's already pulled away, and he goes, "Well, they kicked me off of the bed and they're choking me." And they had and I said, "Oh, heck no." So I went down to her house. Now I've got to keep it cool to this because at any moment, I'm a big guy. I do not want to fly off the handle. And I call her. I said, "Hey, I want to know what's going on. Who is choking this child? And where in the world are you? And who's the adult in this jazz?" So I texted my attorney, and he goes, "Listen, be in my office tomorrow morning. Get out of there. Don't confront her. Just get out of there. Come to my office. We'll deal with this in court." Cool. So now again, I never even thought of this. So he goes to school and tells them he draws a picture for the school. Now the school child lines this. Oh boy, now we got some fireworks because this is a private school. I didn't tell him to do this. So right. I call my attorney. I'm going into the school, or I'm going into this attorney's office. We're gonna have a meeting. And my phone rings, and it's his teacher, and she said, "Corey, you have a minute?" Now I put this on speakerphone because I know what's going on. I know we got a problem. We have an issue right here and now. I let the attorney goes, and he goes, "Oh shoot, yeah, buddy, we're on nuclear ground now." So right. we've got all of this documented. She called CYS and she said, Corey, if you have a chance, so she talked to us and she was very nice about it. And Keegan loves this teacher. Oh, he just loves her. He gives her big hugs every time he sees her. So fast forward to March, comes home and says that he had been shot with a BB gun.
Gee whiz, dude.
Okay.
Now, this is my
So-
point. This is imminent danger. This is imminent danger. Why are they not doing anything?
Well, here's what I'm mad. Now I want to tell you.
I would say,
and again, so I asked my attorney, goes, "Oh, you got to let him. You got to follow the court case." Like hell, you do. This kid's getting shot at count. So against my better judgment, I almost had her come get me. You feeling froggy? Leave. Let's go. I sent him down there. He does it again. Second week in a row. I said, that's it. No more. So here's what I did. And I told you, I went to the women's league. And this lady is absolutely a spot on gem. I can't speak highly enough of her. And I showed her, because again, I have my iPad. I had my iPad sitting right here. And I showed her the documentation from 2017 to present. She goes, honey, you hold that thought. She goes up and talks to the judge. She said, you have your attorney call me. We want to schedule an emergency custody modification. I said, okay. Now here's the kicker to this. We have not argued any of this in court. 21, 22, and now. She's walked away. Mom's walked away. Hasn't seen him since the first week in May. Hasn't talked to him since the second week in July.
and again, that's just as bad.
It is. One of the things is, and I've said this, and I mean this. You give me 6 months away from her, and I'll show you a kid that will flourish. It will go to town. Because again, I'm going to treat him like my parents did with me, and I think we're doing all right. And so we was up at we went to this fair that we have in our county, and he says, I saw as one of his old counselors. He said, Corey, I can't get over how happy he looks. I said, I told you, you get him away from her, and I'll show you a child that will grow and flourish like there's no tomorrow. I promise you. And he said, whatever you're doing, it works. I said, listen, I told you way back when, if you give me that opportunity, I promise you, this child will do things he can't even imagine. And so we went through this emergency custody hearing. And it was, now the thing that kicked me is the judge and the judge and the wife knew my aunt and uncle. Now, I didn't say that at the time, but the judge looked at me and he goes, Dad, do you understand the effects of this? Yes, sir, I do. And that was it. That's all he said to me. He went on a 45-minute jaunt with her, and he goes, now, the thing that was bad, it was the weekend before Mother's Day. So if it had been after Mother's Day, I think he'd have taken it away from him. But regardless, the agreement was that he was to do 1 hour and then come home. It was 2 hours and then come home. And then if there was any other issues, that he promised her that she was not going to like the effects of this. So last summer we went through a in-house mediation. She called my attorney, and I'm not sure how I really feel about that, and she's scared to death of my attorney. And my attorney says, listen, you understand this. I'm Corey's attorney first and foremost. So if he says this is it, it's over. You're at his mercy. So here's what I did. And again, I wanted her to understand just exactly how serious she's in the deep. And I gave, there were 2 reasons I did this. Number one, I wanted her to understand her son. And 2, the courts can't say, well, Dad, you didn't give Mom a chance. Nope, can't say that. So, and they would do that. They would say, well, Mom, you've got to give her a chance and all this stuff. I said, listen, I'm going to tell you one true principle. If you and Keegan do not settle your differences, then the rest of your family will never work with him, because he wants a one-on-one, relationship with you. The rest will follow. If you don't do this, I promise you, this is going to go south quick. And I said, this isn't me talking. This is what I hear day in and day out. So I would highly, advise you to follow this. She did that for probably a month, and then it was all about her. Well, it was like pulling teeth. And one of the things that I couldn't understand this, and I still don't understand this, is that he wanted to go down there for the day but come home for the night. Well, she was adamant that he spend the night. And I said to her, I said, what is so? I said, I'll even give you one of my days. I'll give you Saturday and Sunday, but he comes home at night. Nope, wasn't having it. She refused him.
Why?
So I asked that's exactly what I said. I said, why don't you want just days when you want the night? Well, I want him overnight. I said, Liz, this doesn't make any sense. And I said, and I'm highly suspicious it is. Whoops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say her name. But so I have an idea that there was something nefarious going on. I won't say what it is because I don't know. But they were awful adamant about why the overnights were. This is just nuts. So another time on my mom's birthday, we'd had a family thing. It was really bad. Like my dad's house, we didn't. And he gets in the Jeep and he puts his head down. And I said, honey, what's wrong? And he said, Daddy, I'm sorry. I've been bad. All right, we'll talk about it. Let's see what's going on. Never did I expect what came out of his mouth. And he said, subject A and subject B sucked on my pee-pee. I almost went through an oak tree. Wait a minute. Oh, whoa. Texted my attorney. I said, hey, let's just come out of Keegan's mouth. Oh, heavens. Call CYS. Be in my office at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Shoot. So now I call CYS. The lady had remembered me from a time prior. And she said, you still haven't gotten your child out of there? No. She said, hold on. So she took the report. The next night at dinner, we're sitting at dinner, and the phone rings. I didn't even see it, but it rang. It was the head of Childline in Harrisburg calling me for a 3-hour conversation about why this child's still in that household.
What was their excuses? Because see, what's funny here is that we've got a mess load of parents that don't do anything to their children, and they don't have them. They've been TPR'd. But yet in your situation, your ex or whatever, it's visibly beaten this child to the point of whatever. I don't even want to say it. But and you are sitting there fighting and telling the system, giving it to them on a gold platter, as you would say, but they do nothing. They are giving your son every opportunity to get killed in the presence of these people, and they're doing nothing. Yet so many Americans are sitting here right now with no children, and they did nothing. No imminent danger. You've just discussed 7 different ways that your son was in imminent danger, and CPS did zero about it, except for tell you why they didn't or why it is okay that they're there. But yet, how many Americans are watching this show right now that don't have their kids and they did nothing?
And again, this is something that people, I guess when I started this, and again, I'm sure we all have, that these agencies are there to protect us. Oh, I'll tell you, unless again, I had to find out on the fly just exactly how alone we are on an island. And it's, and one of the things is that I had to kind of pivot very quickly, where you're like, okay, this isn't going to work, so we need to try something else. And, I hear so many people in this journey say, well, I don't want to switch my attorney. He's good. Is he working for you? Is he doing what you need to do? If not, jump him. Get him, either jump him or dump him. One of the two. And you say, hey, listen, I'm paying you X amount of dollars. I want you in court. I want you beating these people. I want you calling CYS going, hey, call the solicitor. You have the ample, definition. Call the solicitor and say, why aren't you doing this? One of the things that I see, and again, it's maybe from my vantage point, the accountability, people accept what CYS has to say. I did a thing back in, what was it, like February, March of 2018. And I went down and I sprawled out 180, 200 photos on their meeting boardroom table. I had 4 people in there. I had the solicitor and the supervisor. I actually had the supervisor from Harrisburg was in there visiting, and I happened to just kind of happen into this. They looked at all of these and go, yeah, these are pretty gruesome, but we've already closed it and unfounded it. You just wasted an hour and a half of my time to look at these photos, and you're going to do a doggone thing about it. Okay. And she goes, well, I'm really sorry, Mr. Copeland. I said, no. You will be. When I'm done with this, you will be.
That's just...
It's cruel.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this kid is getting himself just annihilated. And that's their best answer. And I said, I hope and pray you never have to go through this, because I promise you, it is absolutely gut-wrenching to have to go through this and have to explain to your child, Daddy can't do anything because they won't let me.
Let me read you something. This is pertinent to my case. And Lori Burns, thank you for writing that, because you're right. There's so many of us that don't. This is what it says. This is what it says in my case. And you tell me what this means. The section in the findings letter that states it may be difficult. Okay, I'm sorry. This isn't the real letter. This is what I wrote to them as an email. But what it says is, it may be difficult to see this information in writing that led to the decision of substantiation. Then it went on to tell it's the little spirit of like being this or that. It may be difficult to see in writing is what they substantiated me onto the highest degree. I did nothing. I was that substantiation right there, that was to the highest degree of nothing. Nothing wrong. Nothing against them. Nothing against that, right? Nothing against my daughter at all. Okay. Let me read to you this.
Wow.
Let me read this little thing right here.
Wow.
Right here. This right here is a piece of paper that says, do not open case. Okay. This is on me. Let me read this to you. Now, I broke my back when I was 18 years old. I've been on pain regiment my entire life. So they call me.
Sorry to hear that.
They say that I'm a substance abuser. No, I'm not. I'm not a substance abuser. I take care of my medicines. Now, but let me read this, because this will help a lot of people out there. Right? This comes from the Office of Program Evaluation and Government Accountability. Okay? And I want to know how many people out there are under these things. This is what child abuse and neglect is not. Some situations may indicate that a family of a child needs community services or support, but do not meet the definition of child abuse or neglect. Examples include living in poverty, including lack of food, clothing, or shelter that is not injurious to the child, accidental injuries, even if regular and reoccurring, parental prenatal substance use, physical or mental impairment of the parent, including substance use, if it has little or no impact on the child. I can't read that one. Oh, looks like my eyes are getting bad here. Isolated incidents of domestic violence when the child is not present, and physical discipline like spanking, as long as it does not cause bodily injury. Now, how many people that you know or you've talked to that are sitting there right now, their rights have been terminated, and it's for one of these reasons that you sit right here and say, but yet you called on your ex-wife multiple times with physical abuse present, and they did nothing.
Nothing. Not a thing. And one of the things that I have learned in this, and as a collaborated group, you and I, and all of the people that I've met so far, we've spent so much money that we should have our law degree, no doubt in my mind. But one of the things that I have learned is every one of these terms are loose terms. Okay, so they say abuse or substance abuse. Okay, you're taking heart medication, that's a substance abuse. Wait a minute. And we've had to define the definition in court. I've had to actually have my attorney do that. He had a massive heart attack. The stress from this, they didn't want to hear that. So, okay, maybe you'll want to hear the fact is that you're putting me through this stress. I need this. And again, I'm going to call them out. What are they going to do? The worst they're going to do. Because again, they take this child, they're going to have a real issue. I'll have billboards and websites up, and I'll just go completely nuclear on them. But and again, I don't want to have to do that. This is not, I want to spend my
Well, it's
time,
not only that, but how many parents can see? Here's the thing: is that they target these parents that can't make. They target, like, look, I'm not broke, but I wasn't well off either. I am
right.
broke now, like
I
because of the
am.
money I've spent in fighting for my child, and
Yep.
then still lose. But like they don't, uh, they they're just trying to destroy the family. That's it. This is
Absolutely.
blatant. That's the blatant thing, And just like I hope everybody heard, Player Mike said, Darren, I had four things you was the reason screaming for TPR. See, they say it right here. You just have to look for the stuff, and this is why it's paramount that you get yourself an attorney, and an attorney
Yep.
that, like you said, Corey, an attorney that will fight for you and knows what they're
Yes.
fighting for. Don't get a business attorney to come in and do the work
No.
for family services or child services. You need the right type of attorney. Because honestly, this is an attack on all of us. They are
Yes.
weaponizing CPS to come after America for things that they can't get in a regular jurisdiction, and it's disgusting. It's sad, and the only person that's getting affected by this are these poor children that they're
Yep.
taking away from their families. Now,
Yep.
life happens to people. We have to accept that as a fact. Like people make bad decisions once in a while. That doesn't make them bad parents. It doesn't make them bad
Right.
people. They just made a bad choice. But when things are on a reoccurring, constant system happening like you are, and blatant, obvious signs of abuse, why does this system do nothing?
I I have some theories on that. Now, one of the things that I think, and I said this earlier, kind of on a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing, but I mean this. CYS or CPS or any of these do not go after people that are unified, like stronger numbers. So you won't see a C because again they know they're going to get clobbered in that regards. What they try to do to me, and again I saw this, and again I've been single. I don't make any bones about that. But my child comes first, and I've had the opportunity to date. But I can tell you, the more focused and dialed in I am on protecting him, because again, people look at this and go, all right, they're here to help me. One of the things that I did, and this is a trick I learned really kind of early on. Anytime I knew CYS was coming, I'd meet him out in the front yard. I wouldn't let him in.
Right. Don't
Because
give them the
now,
opportunity.
nope, they don't even know what this house looks like. Now, what's funny about this, they wanted to talk to him by himself. I said, no, you're going to have me right there. He is not old enough to make a decision in that regarding his own decisions. No, you're not doing that. Now they tried to say, well, if not, we'll take him from you. Good luck in that. Rot's a rock. And again, I said, we've done nothing wrong. You see, this kid lives on a house on a lake. He's gotten himself all kinds of help. He's gotten the IU5. He's gotten his. You explain to me what I've done wrong. So you don't get that opportunity. Now, if I have done something wrong, then you have every opportunity to take him by himself. I've done nothing wrong. And so told my attorney, and he goes, I'll straighten it out. And again, it's just formality. But well, the one day they needed to talk to him by himself, but I said, I'll tell you right now, you're going to keep that door open. I'm sitting right here. So he didn't see me, but I was within 2 feet of him. So like there wasn't going to be anything. But one of the things that I have noticed, and I'm sure it sounds like in your case, and they try to dictate how this is going to go. Nope. This is my child, not yours. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I ask about the birth certificate, because I've heard people say in a birth certificate, the state and they actually own your children. You just rent them. Well, nice try. I didn't even sign for this because I wasn't even old enough to sign for a birth
Right.
certificate.
Exactly.
So
Like
it's a
that's
no.
exactly that's what our guest earlier, Dana, was saying. That like, what is it? I believe it's called Parents Patria or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh shoot, I
something
had that.
that says that they are entitled to. Listen, that's contract law. They should all be null and voided because
Yep.
we didn't sign for that. We didn't ask for that, and by law it says that you have to be 18 to be able to vouch for yourself. So,
That's exactly right.
that's the case with that stuff. But this is just asinine. The fact that you had, how many times do you think you called to have him taken out of her house?
I did twice. The doctor called over 50, and I can't tell you how many counselors I had. I'll tell you what was really crazy. He came home. who was in, I'll tell you what, I had this picture pulled up here. He came home one evening, I'll say, let me do this. It was in, let me do this, cancel it. It was in November, I want to say, of 2018, with a Christmas bulb in his heel, stuck in his heel.
Oh my God. Came to you with that in his heel.
In his heel.
So they
He's
put a
limping.
shoe on him. They put a sock, a shoe, or slipper, or something on him and send him in to see you.
Nope. Put him in a onesie. Or really put him in 3 sizes of clothes too small. I had to cut his clothes away from him in this particular evening. I then, because what our usual routine is I would go get him and I would give him a bath. My mom would cook something. The one night she made homemade spaghetti. He had like 4 or 5 bowls before I ever sat down. Kid was, and one of the things that I learned really kind of early on. So when you'd give him food, he would cover his food. He'd hover over it. All right, they're not feeding him. So we had to deal with that. But so anyhow, I cut his clothes off of him because they're like 18 months and this kid's 3, right? So I look at this and go, holy goodness gracious. I get him in the bath. He screams like bloody murder because, again, you've got an open wound. Pull him out of there, dry everything off, take him into the emergency room. Here comes this 7-foot sheriff going, holy goodness. Hey, he said, don't you go anywhere, Corey. Because he knew, I've seen him a couple of times. And he goes, you're not going to have a talk. All right, I'm looking forward to it. They take this child back. They were going to arrest me on the site. I said, no. Came from his mom's like that. And so I sent my attorney this. He goes, what the heck's going on? He went into court raising all kinds of havoc and told the mediator, listen, somebody better do something or this kid's going to be a statistic. And I mean, Jesus, I'm looking at that right now. I can't even look at that. But he had cigarette burns on the side of his elbow. It's just gruesome. Just absolutely gruesome. It kind of baffles me as to why, and I think that part of the CPS situation is if they know you're going to fight, they're going to just make your life miserable because
that's what they did to me. So that's what happened to me. So they did me wrong, and then I did a podcast against them. I did a podcast. It's called "That's Our Daughter." You should check it out. It's pretty good. I did a nice job with it. But what they didn't like was the fact that I was exposing what they were doing. So then they revoked my visits with her. They revoked everything. They revoked our communication. Then they got me for abandonment and the whole line. And now to the point that my wife and I don't have her, but I fight every day for that little girl because she deserves to come home. She deserves to be with her parents, and she doesn't deserve to have the effects that are going to be coming to her because of what they've done, because we did nothing. But yet again, I reiterate, you have real life imminent danger and CPS does nothing.
Nothing. If there's anything I can do to help you, I'll do it for you.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really do. It's just astounding. And I'm glad that you come on. And number one, the fact that you got your son out of there and away as a dad, that's really awesome because we need more of that. But what we also need more of is, this is a cutthroat or a clear cut reason to call CPS.
Yep.
And you did it. You did everything that the responsible parent would do, and they did nothing. But yet there's responsible parents that do nothing, and they are losing their kids. And it's disgusting how this is working out in this system. And
yeah, it's the people who are good parents. And one of the things, and again, I don't have to tell you this. And again, I could still probably whip myself into a frenzy. The anger I had was intense. Like I was hoping one of them would come here just so I could just take my anger out. And it's not a way to be. I get that.
Right.
But
understood.
The anger was just infuriating because what more do I need to do other than God himself coming down here and parting the Red Sea? Like, that's just how I felt. And it was just kind of interesting. I was in the courtroom and my attorney said, Corey, I'll be right back. And there was another attorney that was going to use this room, and he comes in and he goes, hey, you all right? And I said, no, I'm just really. And he sat down and he said, let me tell you something. Every day that you fight for your child is considered successful. You may not win in court, but at least he knows you're going to battle. He can physically see you're standing up for him where other people aren't. And I never forgot that. it's not about it. Now, it's for me, it is, that I've been able to fight, and I fight hard. And I'm not done. I am not done by any long shot. But right now, I'm in a lull where I can, before I go upstairs and go to bed, I'm going to give him a hug and kiss, and I can see him every morning, and that to me is a win-win. And
Right.
and that's why I have kind of sought out groups like this so that I can help other dads go, hey, listen, you're in a fight. I'm telling you, you got to prepare like Rocky Balboa. You take no stuff from anything. You leave no stone unturned, and you just fight like you're a demon possessed. I'm telling
Yep.
you, and one of the things, and my attorney couldn't understand this, and I think he does now. I fought angry. I played basketball. I'm 6'5", and I played basketball, and I played better when I was angry. And I used to tell
Right.
these guys, hey, listen, I'll tell you what, tell your sister and mom to quit calling me. And I'd get in their head quick, real quick. I fight better when I'm mad. Because again, I'm focused, I'm dialed in, and I'm direct. Okay, so what I would do, for instance, I'd make 10 phone calls. I'm going to make those 10 phone calls extremely effective. Or I'm going to send 8. Now, what I would do is every time that I would make a phone call, I'm emailing those person. Hey, my name's Corey. I have a son, this, that, there, and the other. What's your email address? I need, we need to have some correspondence that I think you need to see the severity of this situation. Bam.
Yep.
And harassment comes in different forms. It does.
Right. Right.
So they probably said, listen, get this fool out of here. But and again, I wasn't going to stop. I mean, it's one of the things I remember Rocky Balboa saying one time, I'm too stupid not to get up.
Yep.
That's the way and again, my goal was to not stop until he was here. And I told my attorney, I will have full custody of this child, because they don't do that in
Yep.
Pennsylvania. They ain't met me yet. Hold
Right.
on, boys. And again, like we had said the other night, persistency is definitely, you just keep hammering, and you get up, and you've got a chip on your shoulder, and one of the things that I did, and this is a very small token, and at first it was an absolute dagger in my heart. I put a picture of him on my desk, and every time I'd call him, like, oh yeah, I
Right.
could feel it, and I could just
Yep.
taste it. And that's all the motivation you need.
Yep.
And it's an intense war that I wish my sister said to me, she goes, Corey, you're not prepared to fight them. Listen, they're not prepared for me. They better understand what kind of war they're going to get into. And and at first, I guess I took them lightly at first. Oh yeah, not now. Oh, and I tell people, if you're going for custody, you better sit down and think long and hard. Get an attorney that, if he's not doing what, you either jump him or dump him. There's no two ways about this. You tell
Yep.
him, say, listen, I want action. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Don't tell me there's a payment plan. I'm going to pay you. You get on the phone. You are my representation. Act like
Yep.
it. Do it.
Absolutely.
And that's it. It's a harsh reality, but they are there to work for you. And again, CYS, I always tell CYS, hey, listen, you work for me, and you better understand that I'm not quite your normal or average person. I want my child, and by gosh, you're not going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what. That's
and that's why, like, one of the things that I believe in, and I believe in strength in numbers. So like, if you get down and say, hey, Darren, listen, don't you take that. They don't deserve your child. You do. And it's a motivating. I can't tell you how many people are like, Corey, don't you dare let them do that. Don't you dare. You get on that phone and just rip them. And that,
Yep.
even though, like, I was going through this, I still connected to the fight. Now, one of the things that's going to be very hard is, once you get your daughter back, as you will, it's going to be to turn that switch off.
Right.
I'm going to say some
Yeah.
prayers for you, that the Lord intervenes in this situation for you, because this is unfair. This is unnecessary, and this is unfair. And that's one thing. When I was delivering mail in 2016, I had a massive heart attack. And I'm laying in the hospital bed, and I'm like, okay, Lord, you saved me. I mean, only 4% of live who have this kind of heart attack. So I said, okay, it's my turn now. And he goes, I said, you get me out of here and we'll fight. Well, little did I know the fight that I was going to be into, but I
Right.
kept saying to him, I need help down here. I'm a soldier and I'll fight. No, let me tell you. And he said, you trust what I'm telling you? Yes. Just keep fighting. And he knew, one of the things that we go through this is that the futuristic work. So I had to go through this to maybe help you and anyone else that I could come in contact with as a dad to say, hey, this is garbage, but you keep fighting, get in the trenches, just get completely medieval on these people. And
Yes.
and that's the kind of thing that I didn't have. I did, but those people didn't quite understand of like what you and I have gone through and what Mike has
Right.
gone through and Mr. Davis. Again, this is hard stuff. This is not a fight people should take lightly.
No, not at all. But Corey, time flies when we're having fun. We're up to an hour now.
Yes.
I'm going to be in touch with you. I'm sure you're going to be back Monday with Mr. Davis. I'm thinking that we're going to see a lot more of you. That's the way I'm seeing things right now.
Yes, yes.
I'm glad that you got your kid back. You
Yes.
show a lot of hope to people. And what I like about you too is that you are a prime example of the people that asked the system for help and you didn't get it. So amen to you and amen to your kid being at home with you. But as for tonight, Grace, let's hear some music. Let's go into the weekend. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon, Corey.